Welcome to the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by Rouse's Markets. You'll hear from players, coaches, broadcasters, and writers that cover the NFL daily. The New Orleans Saints podcast starts right now. Here's your host, Erin Summers.
The Saints took a 24-20 win over Tampa Bay Sunday, getting their second NFC South victory and putting together a complete game in all three phases, despite the rainy, wet conditions.
This is why you play football. You know, you come in here in the elements, just with all your boys, with all your teammates, and we fought really hard. And, you know, was really proud of the O-line, just kind of chugging along the whole way. Did a really good job in protection. The defense was making huge stops. You know, I think we did a better job of being a little bit more complimentary, and was just proud of all of our guys. You know, they kind of took everybody, so it was just a lot of fun. That's the kind of thing I'm kind of resonate with me right now. It was just a lot of fun, and I think it just shows kind of how we are as a team.
Quarterback Tyler Shuck got his first rushing touchdown, breaking for a 37-yard run, and added another late in the third quarter. Running back Devin Neal got in as well for his first career TD. Defensively, the Saints had 5 fourth-down stops, and Alontae Taylor came up with a big interception to start the second half. Wide receiver Mason Tipton set the team up with great position to start the game after a 54-yard kickoff return. So, like I said, all three phases. And while today's podcast episode guests, former Saints defensive back Brett Maxie and GM of the Saints Hall of Fame Ken Trahan, focus on the inductions coming up Friday, I had to ask Ken about the win Sunday. The Saints are coming off a win now, so we got to talk about it, right?
Yeah, sure.
And break down that game for me on Sunday against the Bucs. What do you think? What stood out to you?
Well, it's complementary football. It's what they've been lacking. I mean, if you want to win football games, you got to have complementary football. You have to be able to do something in every phase. They got a big kick return, right? That's one phase. They got a big turnover, Alontae Taylor interception. That's another phase. They got 5 out of 7 fourth down stops. That's huge. Yeah. And then offensively, when you needed it, you had a great drive to start the game after the kickoff return, and then kind of hit a cold spell. But then you get the big plays you need. You got a couple of explosive plays, which they haven't had. But it was complimentary football. Every phase of the team did something to help them win the game, and that's what it takes. But I think what really set the tone, and I loved it after the kickoff return, which was huge. First play from scrimmage, they go for it all. And Tyler Shuck throws a perfect ball. And Chris Olave gets grabbed by the jersey a little bit, and they didn't call it. And that ball hits the edge of his fingertips. If he doesn't get grabbed, that impeded him slightly. That's a perfect throw, and it's a touchdown. But what it did was it stretched the defense a little bit. So now, if watching the game back again, the middle of the field was open quite a bit, and they were able to connect on some passes middle of the field. And then, of course, Tyler Shuck. I've been encouraged by him from day one. And I say on my radio shows all the time, don't look at the numbers. Before he even got in there, I said, it's not going to be about the numbers. It's going to be about the eye test. It's going to be about the things that you're looking for. Does the guy overmatched, or does he show poise? Can he see the field? Is he patient? Can he extend plays? Is he accurate? And the answers thus far are yes, 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 and yes. And I'm not here to tell you that he's the Lord's gift yet, or that he's going to be the greatest quarterback in the NFL, but I'm here to tell you that he has the qualities you need to play that position as a starter in the NFL, and possibly a good starter. So with that being the case, hey, if it's me right now and it's not me, I'm not drafting a quarterback. I'm going to address a ton of other needs, because they have a lot of them, as we know, and try to build around them. It's the most important position. They made an investment, 40th overall, and now they're playing the investment, and they're seeing if the investment was worth it. I think the answer is yes. I think there's a real chance for this young man to be a good starting NFL quarterback. I like what I've seen. And the fact of the matter is, objectively speaking, and we're always objective, there's not a lot of talent around him. They're not gifted offensively. They've got a good wide receiver in Chris Olave. Great to see Devon Vele starting to break out, and that's a big plus. Devin Neal had a good game, and that's a real plus. What I really like about Devin Neal is pass protection. He picks up blitzes, and he sticks it in there pretty good. And I think quarterbacks love that. So you gain the confidence of your coaches and your quarterback when you do that in good fashion, which he does. Of course, Juwan Johnson's been solid all season long, and their offensive line's all chopped up, and they've had to play a lot of guys. That begets experience and perhaps getting a little bit better. But ultimately, they need to get better up front on both sides of the ball. They need another playmaker. There's no question about that, if not two. and they need to get better up front. And I think those are the two areas. But the most encouraging thing has been Chuck and the other young players. They're playing, the experience is there. And of course, then you're seeing some ability, whether it's Quincy Riley, whether it's Jonas Sanker, whether it's Banks, whether it's Neal. I mentioned Shuck. Obviously Broughton got hurt, so you can't judge him. But you've got a lot of young players that are playing, and they're showing the ability to play. So there's only the potential for growth there. And I said it before, it could be a 3-year process, but it could be a 2-year process. If you hit it right in the offseason, if you draft very well again, and you bring in 1 or 2 guys that can really contribute to your team, things can change pretty quickly. The only downside is the NFC is really deep. It's better than the AFC. So it's not a great conference to be in, but it is a good division to be in.
Yes.
So that's what I like. If that was the chalk yesterday, hey, I like their chances to get there quicker.
Now, let's get to the Saints Hall of Fame talk as Brett Maxie joins me. Maxie played 9 years for the Saints to start his NFL career from 1985 to 93. Since retiring after a year with the 49ers in 97, Maxie has coached across the NFL, college, and UFL. He is one of this year's inductees. After my conversation with Maxie, we'll bring Ken back in for a breakdown of the process and what to expect this weekend. Brett, thank you so much for joining me on the New Orleans Saints podcast. It is great to have you. Big week for you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Erin. Thank you for having me. And yes, it is. It's a big week, and my family and I are looking forward to hanging out in New Orleans, seeing some of my old teammates. It's going to be a blast, and we're looking forward to it.
The Saints coming off a win this past weekend, and then they're going to have all the legends back in the Superdome on Sunday. I'm sure the atmosphere is going to be great. How much are you looking forward to just walking back out onto that field and being there for a game day environment?
It's going to be different. I remember the first time that I came back as a coach, and I was coaching in the division. Actually, I coached in 2 spots that were in the division, Carolina and Atlanta. And it felt really surreal to be down on the field, looking across the sidelines, looking and saying, man, that used to be the sideline that I used to hang out on during my career. So it's gonna be surreal.
When you look back at your career and undrafted player coming into the NFL and where you are now, getting inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame, what stands out the most to you about what you've been able to do?
As I thought about it, athletes are always, looking for validation of their career. And I didn't realize that until maybe later in my career. Like, what is my legacy going to be? Do I need to do anything extraordinary to create something that fans will always remember? And once I retired and I decided to go into coaching, I started getting fan mail. I really never got fan mail while I was playing. It was after the fact that I started getting fan mail. And then that's when it really started to sink in. Man, I really did some good stuff when I played. Played on some really good teams. I was probably spend time in one of the best locker rooms in my career, being in New Orleans for 9 years. And the reason I say, being in one of the best locker rooms, because I've been in a lot of locker rooms. I played for 4 different teams. I coached for, I believe, maybe 7 different teams. And the locker room that I spent the most time in during my 9-year career in New Orleans was probably the best locker room I've ever been a part of. And I say that because when you talk about brotherhood, you talk about closeness, and when things were successful, nobody really cared who got the credit as long as we were winning. The Christmas parties we used to go to, um, hanging out with each other on Monday night when Morton Anderson had his restaurant. We used to go there on Monday night and watch Monday Night Football. Just thinking about all those memories
Mhm.
and the times we spent together meant a lot to me. And that's kind of what I've been thinking about over the course of these months leading up to the induction ceremony.
I'm sure it's going to be special to see some of those teammates again then.
Yes, it's going to be very, very special. A couple of my teammates won't be able to make it, and they actually reached. I mean, can you believe this? Instead of them not showing up, they reached out to me, Brett, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it. Nobody does that anymore. Nobody personally reach out to you and pick up the phone and call you. We have a Saints alumni. Um, what do you call it on your phone?
A group text.
A group text. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a group text every morning. Somebody is reaching out. Ricky Jackson probably does it the most,
Oh, wow.
saying good morning, happy Monday, happy Tuesday. God bless you guys. I hope everybody is having a good day. It's amazing. Um, we can't make it up, and it's something that I've never been a part of, and I'm so grateful for it.
hmm No, a true brotherhood for sure. A lot of people have talked about the culture here, playing for the Saints, how much the city cares about you, the fans, the players. Um, it is pretty special. And what you were able to accomplish on the field was as well. What are some of the highlights for you? I mean, you're on the field with the Dome Patrol, you had some big moments. So, what stands out in the field of play?
Um, Maybe one of the greatest moments that I've ever remembered was in 1987. I was part of the first ever winning team in Saints franchise history. Uh, Late November up in Pittsburgh, the first and goal from the two. They had four tries to get in, and then on the fourth and one play, I go in motion, and I saw the ball being handed off, but the guy that I was covering kept going, and I didn't even look at him anymore. As soon as I saw the ball handed off, I just tried to go create, some havoc, and I was able to make some contact, and the uh, the cheers and the celebration on the field, and once we got back to the sideline was amazing. And you can imagine what it was like when we got back to the locker room after that game. It was the first ever winning season in Saints franchise history, and I was a part of that.
Yeah.
Dave Waymer was crying in the locker room. He had spent a lot of lean years in New Orleans and was never ever able to create that moment along with some of my other teammates, Johnny Poe. Um, I was so happy for them.
hmm
I was really happy for them that as a young player, you really don't understand the history of franchises that you're playing for.
Yeah.
You kind of learn about it along the way. And I knew that I think it was 18, it was during that time, it was like 18 years when I got there. We've never had a winning season in franchise history. And then 2 years later, there we are, celebrating it in the locker room, something no other team will ever be able to do again. Um, that was probably one of the most proudest moments
hmm
in my career.
Now you get to say that you're a Saints Hall of Famer as well. Has that set in? What does that mean to you?
Um, I'm still really trying to process it all. I think when I first got the news and I was talking to Ken, as soon as I saw his number come through on my phone, kind of suspected maybe this is what it is. And and when he started talking, my mind started racing, and I'm already thinking it finally happened. That was probably the most excited that I got, since 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 I was told, since I got the call.
Mhm.
Now it's just processing my teammates, the Saints teams that I've been a part of. Um, Even now, going back, um, visiting with my teammates, talking about the old days, uh, just having fun, creating that locker room all over again.
Mhm.
That's kind of what I've been processing.
Yeah, it's going to be a big weekend, I'm sure, of reflection for a lot of people, a lot of stories being told. I don't
Yes.
know if we can talk about all of them on the podcast here. But you mentioned capping off that first winning season. As your career went on, what are you most proud about that you were able to accomplish, considering, like I said before, you were undrafted, be able to
Mhm.
still make your mark and be such an impactful player?
Football has always been a part of my life. It wasn't the first sport that I started playing. It was actually the third sport that I started playing. And growing up in Dallas and being a Cowboy fan, I grew up right across the street from the Cotton Bowl, where the state fair where the Cowboys used to play back in the late 60s. Um, and every day, I was back then, kids didn't really stay in the house a lot. You were outdoors, and that was one of the first things I would do. And then my mom made sure that when I got home from school, that I needed to make sure that I had my homework done before I was able to go out and play. And the first thing I would do is come in, grab something to eat, do my homework, and then I grab my football and I take off.
Mhm.
Um, so football has been a part of who I am for a very, very long time. And I think I started playing at the age of 10. Um, when I got to college, I was recruited as a quarterback. I never played defensive back. So growing up watching Roger Staubach, I wanted to be the next Roger Staubach. So I started
Of
playing
course.
quarterback. And we had a coaching change at my college, and the new coach that came in had a different plan. So he moved me to defensive back. I was furious. I wanted to pack up. I actually went to my room and started packing, and I called my head coach here back in Dallas and told him I was leaving. He drove 4 hours and talked me out of it. It was the best decision he's ever made for me. So making the transition was really, really tough. So I knew at that moment I just wanted to, finish school, get my degree, um, have an opportunity to go to optometry school, and really be, just live a happy life, married, have some children, and be satisfied. Um, did the notion ever come up that man, it'd be great to be drafted and go to the NFL? Absolutely, it did. But it was something that I knew there was a long shot. a very long shot. So I go to class that day of, of the draft. I come back and my roommates are telling me I had two calls. One was from Kansas City and the other one was from the Saints saying they wanted me to come and, be a part of their football program. And would I be interested in signing a contract with them and spend 7 weeks in the summer before training camp? I'm like, where do I sign? You know? And it just happened like overnight. So um when I finally got there, there were a lot of it was an older team because Bum Phillips, that was part of his um that was part of his the way he was going to build the culture of a team with experience.
Mhm.
And he brought a lot of those guys with him uh, from Houston. Earl Campbell was one of them, and it was a surly locker room. Um, just older guys um, that would sit around and just hang out in the locker room and dip, tobacco, which I wasn't a fan of, and but they just like being around each other and playing football. Now we didn't win a lot of games, but I I just realized that I am now living the dream that I've always wanted to live growing up as a young uh, athlete.
Mhm.
And football was the sport that I was able to cling to and learn the most and get the most out of. And as an undrafted free agent rookie, going through my career, I just wanted, it really wasn't about putting up stats, but it was about winning and developing relationships and being the best version of myself. That's what it was all about for me.
Mhm.
I wanted to win some championships. I wasn't able to accomplish that, but I did win a few divisional championships, and I had an opportunity to play in two championship games, NFC championship games. So, and then when it was all over, it was 23 interceptions, three touchdowns, and one on Monday night. I can't ask for anything better than that.
It does sound like a movie. And at this point, we see the draft on TV, all the phones in front of them, all the
Yeah,
people. But you brought up something and it made me be like, I don't think I've ever thought about that, that you didn't have a cell phone back then.
no,
So they just called the landline
yeah,
that
yeah.
how did they got it from the coach or you?
Well, I think because they were still having pro days during that time, so they get all your information. And when I was filling out my information card, um, I put my landline, which was in my room.
Mhm.
That was the contact number that I put down. And coming back from class, I walked in the room and my roommate, which was one of my teammates, had this big smile on his face.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on with you, man? You got two calls. And then
Well, good. He
he started
answered. Good on
laughing.
him.
Yeah, yeah. And good thing he was, he didn't have class
Mhm.
at that time. So he was there to retrieve the call and get the information to me. And then, I had an agent as well, and
Mhm.
my agent was trying to get a hold of me, and I ended up calling him and advising him what had just happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you just wanted to be an optometrist, have a happy life. I think you did have a happy life. You ended up getting married, have four kids. Is that
Fortunate, yes,
correct?
yes. They're four
So,
adults now.
yeah.
Mm.
And you ended up staying in football for the rest of your life as a coach as well. What
Yeah.
was it about the game that you just couldn't walk away from?
Um, I guess the rush of, when something comes very natural to you, it's it becomes a part of your daily life. And without it, you kind of wonder, what would my life be if I didn't have some form of football in my life. It's just part of who I am
Mm,
because I've been doing it for so long, and it's so natural. It's like getting up in the morning and not have to think about, hey, I need to go in here and wash my face, brush my teeth, and get ready for my day.
mhm.
It's unconscious competence. You do it without even thinking about it. So, um, if I didn't, I mean, could I live without football? Yes, yes. Will I have to? Do I have any other interests that I would like to pursue? Not really, because I'm a homebody. Because I'm a homebody, and if I get a chance to play golf once a year, I'm satisfied.
Wow.
But I don't know, just football has just been a part of who I am. And I think if you talk to most, and I would probably say most coaches
Mhm.
that were players at some part in their life, they would probably tell you the same thing, that this is just who I am. It's
Yeah.
it's part of my DNA, and it's hard to do something else.
Mhm. Well, you're gonna have to get out of your house this weekend. Come to
Yes,
New Orleans
I'm
because this weekend is about you.
I'm
Who are you
looking forward to it.
bringing? Have you worked on your speech? Where are things at?
Oh yeah, I'm a planner, so I've been, working on the people that I'm going to acknowledge, and most of them they're all going to be there. Um, my teammates. There are a couple of things that I want to mention, but not go into a great detail about, because this is the 20th year of Katrina,
Mhm.
and I want to I want to mention that because I think it's important, especially how resilient the city fought back
Mhm.
to get to where they are today. I mean, it took a lot of courage, prayers, and I'm sure people that were a part of, that disaster, even if they're not living in the city, it still, it still haunts them.
Mhm.
And I can imagine the memories are horrific. So I want to make sure that I acknowledge that. And there's a special uh, Van Jakes, Steve Court, and Bobby Abear. They did a documentary that I want to mention. I don't know how many people are aware of it,
Mhm.
but it was pretty cool. And then talk about my family is going to be there.
Yeah.
My two daughters, this is their first trip back to New Orleans because they were born in Carolina.
Okay.
Two boys were born in Metairie. So the girls, I can't remember the last time they've been in New Orleans,
Mhm.
but they're going to have an opportunity. They're so excited. They're going to have an opportunity to see a lot of my old teammates.
Yeah, see you in your element.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they, I'm more excited for them than I am for me. You know what I mean?
sure. Yeah, that's what definitely what it becomes about, wanting to share that with your family. I'm sure you're proud of your kids as well, and them
Yes.
having a moment to look at you and see, wow, Dad, this is everything that you accomplished, and you mean a lot to the city and the fan base and this team. It's going to be a special weekend, as the Saints Hall of Fame weekends always are. So,
Well, I know this. The city of New Orleans and the fans are probably one of the main reasons that the Saints were able to accomplish what they were able to accomplish during, um, their history, the long history, coming up
mhm,
from despair to hope, because the winning season, the first playoff game, to actually winning a Super Bowl. So there's been a transformation of things that city has really, really been a major part of
mhm.
when it comes to the Saints, because I think Jay Roaming was like 13 years old when the Saints got their first franchise NFL team in 1967. He probably don't know that, but I must say that on Friday. Jay Roaming was 13 years old
Right.
when the Saints, when New Orleans got their first franchise.
And he's still around here every day.
I know, it's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and he really hasn't changed much. He got a little gray here and there, kind of like me. Um, and I think he has grandchildren now.
hmm
Man, it's it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you spending some time talking to me about everything this morning, and look forward to seeing you later this week. I know it's going to be busy, it's going to be fun. So enjoy all of it, and congratulations.
Thank you, Erin. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Ken, thank you for joining me on the New Orleans Saints podcast. I know it is a big week for you, so I appreciate you taking the time to join us. How are you with everything ahead?
Yeah, just kind of tearing my hair out. Fortunately, I do have hair, so that's a good thing. I can probably spare a couple of hairs. So, but very blessed. No complaints. It's a great week.
With everything coming up, the induction luncheon on Friday and Saturday, the gala, can you just give us a preview of what we can expect this week?
Sure. On Friday, we have the induction luncheon at noon at Chateau Country Club. That's 3600 Chateau Boulevard in Kenner. We'll be inducting former Saints defensive backs Brett Maxie and Tracy Porter into the Saints Hall of Fame. We're honoring Steve Gleason with our inaugural Courage Award and honoring the late Ed Daniels with our Joe Gimelli Florida Lee Award. So 4 honorees. I mean, there's video, obviously, speaking by each honoree. Gail Benson will do the welcome, and it's a nice event. We'll have a silent auction and some great sports memorabilia there as well. And probably about an hour and 20, hour and 30 duration. And then Saturday, after Coach Moore entertains all of our alumni in the morning at the facility, we'll have our gala from 4 to 7 p.m. at Chateau Country Club as well. And that's 20 restaurant and drink providers. So it's a taste of New Orleans. And this is for the alumni. We've done this, for basically 30 plus years. And this is for them. And we just give it to them. All the food and drink they can handle. We got music. They get to commiserate with each other. Many don't see each other very often. We have a ton of guys coming in. Last check, it was 80 total that we're going to attend. So it's a great event for the public. Each event's $75. We still have tickets available. I'm letting you know up until the end of Wednesday. If you want to come to the induction luncheon or if you want to come to the gala, $75. How do you get them? Real easy. SaintsHallOfFame.com. Just go to SaintsHallOfFame.com. It's there. The link is there. You can purchase them and you're there. So really good events. And then, of course, the game Sunday with Carolina. Our Hall of Fame inductees will be honored on the field prior to the game. They'll recognize Steve and Ed as well. So, and that pretty much concludes the weekend. This is the 36th annual. So It's been happening for quite some time, but it's always fun. It's rewarding, and it's always just a tremendous blessing to see how much it means to these individuals.
Yeah, it is a fun weekend always. There are so many players that come back in town. I was talking to Brett Maxie earlier this morning, and he was so excited about seeing all of his former teammates and getting out back into the dome. So that's going to be coming up on Sunday with the Panthers game there. It's kind of the culmination of this weekend for everybody. When you're in the selection process, I know you're leading the charge there with the selection committee. What are some of the things that you're looking for in the inductees?
Well, performance is first, of course. Clearly, longevity helps. It's not the only criteria. We've had guys that played 4 years that have been inducted because they were superlative, first team All-Pros and such, or accomplished. In the early days, we've had guys that played 2 or 3 years, but that was way back when. So, yeah, certainly performance, longevity certainly matters. The character issue comes into play, and it really comes into play more so on the negative side. If there was something extremely negative, then the committee pretty much strikes those potential candidates, and I think it's the right thing to do. I cheer it, but I'm just one person in the voting process. But they do a great job, and it's a tremendous gathering of people that have covered this team, dating back to the original Saints. Some are still part of it as emeritus, and then you have people that have been around only for the last 5 to 10 years. So it's a great mixture of people in the room. The debates are enormous, and sometimes they get heated, but that's pretty cool because it tells you they're invested in the process and they take it very seriously. And I think the solutions typically are really good, and I get to deliver the messages. So that's always a lot of fun when you're the messenger and you're calling Brett or you're calling Tracy and you're telling them that this is happening. And I mean, look, I could write a book about it, but some of the reactions are priceless. Sometimes you hear screams, sometimes you hear silence, sometimes you get crying. Sometimes it's like, nah, you're not serious. You're kidding, right? No. It's been a little bit of everything in that regard, and it's so enjoyable. I just love being able to make those phone calls.
Yeah, Brett definitely talked about that phone call. And he said as soon as he saw your name pop up on the phone, he was like, finally. Like, he said that was the most excited he had been. And obviously very touching for him to be named one of the inductees this year coming up. When you look at Brett Maxie and Tracy Porter, what stood out with both of those players?
And in Brett's case, longevity. He played here 9 years. He played on the best defense in the NFL, unquestionably the best defense in the NFL under Steve Sidwell for the better part of at least 4 years, being the number one defense in the league. And everybody knew about the Dome Patrol and just how great these guys were. Ricky Jackson's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Sam Mills, we know what Sam did and how great he was. And yet Pat Swilling was first team All-Pro, led the NFL in sacks. Vaughn Johnson was incredible, tremendous player. And frankly, those two guys should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They were that good. But we know about those guys. But there were 7 other players, and Brett was one of those. And what happens with that unit is the others got overshadowed because the Dome Patrol was so good and recognized as the best ever at what they did. But Brett was a great tackler. He was a really good cover guy. Covered tight ends, running backs. His tackling ability was terrific. He created a bunch of turnovers. He made a memorable play at the goal line against Pittsburgh to clinch the first winning season in franchise history. And the people that knew Brett, the character is off the charts. He's such a good guy, and his teammates loved him. He was a popular choice for so many people. And I always consult everybody you can imagine. I mean, Sean Payton and I talk frequently, and he's involved in this process deeply. He cares deeply. Jim Mora is the same way. Jim's 90 years old now, but he's sharp as tacks. And when I called Jim to talk about Brett as a candidate, I mean, he just went off. He says, are you kidding me? Are you kidding? You got to be serious. You can't be serious. You got to be kidding me. You serious? I said, yeah. Why, you don't like it? He says, no, you should have done it previously. He's that good. Great guy. He's got the guys I've ever coached. You got it? Yeah, coach, I got it. It's all good. So talk to Mickey, talk to position coaches, people that coach people, because you see it with your own eyes. And I've been around here since day one, but sometimes you want that input just to get something that you can share with the committee. And sometimes it's not great input. Sometimes it's the other way. And I think it's important that the committee knows, here's how his position coach felt. Here's how his coordinator felt. Here's how his head coach felt. here's how the GM felt, and so forth. And we don't prejudice it with personal situations. Somebody might like somebody might not. I mean, if you got a guy that you don't like very much and he was a great player, so what? He's in. That's a given. Mm-hmm. And the same thing applies to those you loved. Even though you absolutely love somebody, maybe they don't fit the criteria of being a Hall of Famer. So, but I think this committee does a terrific job at disseminating and getting through the personal feelings. And the only time it comes into play with character is if there were serious issues that hurt the team or off the field issues that were obviously a massive distraction. And that's happened a few times. And that might explain why one or two haven't gotten in.
Sure. It's a fascinating process. And I love that there are those heated discussions and the debate back and forth. And of course, you're very thorough in the process of it. But each year, I know it's a lot to plan for. How much fun is it to actually see it all come together and see the players' reaction when they're actually getting recognized, giving their speeches, and getting inducted?
Yeah, it's fantastic. For me, it's relief, of course, but having to stage it all and put it all together and make it happen. But from the standpoint of watching their reaction, it's special. And you know how much of an honor it is. Most of these guys, it's the biggest honor they'll receive in their lives. In some cases, no, because they were phenomenal and they get bigger honors than this. But it's an incredible process. And then when we unveil the portraits, that's always a big moment. That's always something that's really cool because when they see that, I mean, their first reaction is they're staring, and trying to see if the likeness is good. And then the memories pop up and they'll see because the images that the artist does for us are of when they played, not how they look today or anything else. So the memories come back. And in some cases, there's always an image that's a subplot that goes along with it. For instance, Michael Lewis's portrait has, he's carrying beer. Right. So, or, Morton Anderson with his, the young man he adopted from Children's Hospital as his patron saint when he was a player. Mm-hmm. And when that happened, I'll never forget this. When he saw that, he cried. It was special to him because that young man at that point in time had passed away. So, and then of course, with, the case of guys most recently, and I won't give away these two, but most recently when you've had Drew, for instance, obviously the image is going to be holding the trophy, right? Yeah. So it's going to be something that was applicable to their career. So that's always a blessing. That's a wonderful thing when you see the portrait unveiled and they get a chance to see their own likeness. And I think most of them, if not all of them, are really happy with what they see. And of course, those things are special. And we post those pictures on the Saints Hall of Fame website. So that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. The whole process is great. And then, of course, to be honored on the field at the game before the fans, to get recognized before the fans is special. And the reaction, of course, makes these guys very, very happy. And we bring the portraits on the field, too. So we show those at the game as well.
And hopefully we'll get a win this weekend with everybody in town.
Well, absolutely. It'd be great to complete the Saints Hall of Fame alumni weekend with all these guys here. That would be awesome to happen. Beat them at Charlotte. Mm-hmm. Tough to sweep a team. They're playing for a division title at this point, being tied with Tampa. And look, they're the Panthers are exactly what we're talking about with the Saints. They're in year 3, okay? Some would say maybe year 2, but it's really year 3 of where they are with this quarterback and trying to build around him, and they've gotten better. Mm-hmm. And they're in that mix now in a division that's winnable. And they might be one win away from being able to win this division with Tampa Bay being injured and not playing as well as they did early in the season. That could be the Saints next year. And there's still Atlanta to be played, and they got to win that game. Got to beat that team. Come on, man. I watched them quit yesterday against Seattle. And it's Atlanta after all, right? So, has to. Look, those of us that have lived here all of our lives and have been through that sucker, that's one you have to get a win against those people at least once a year.
Absolutely. And that's how we're going to end the season, with a win over the Falcons, for sure. Ken, thank you so much. I appreciate the time, and good luck with everything this weekend, and enjoy it.
We're looking forward to it, Erin. Always enjoy watching you. Keep up the great work, and God bless you. Merry Christmas to you and yours.
Thank you, too. Big weekend ahead with the Hall of Fame inductions, the gala, and the game against the Panthers on Sunday. Stay tuned all week on NewOrleansSaints.com and SaintsHallOfFame.com for the latest info. Thanks for joining me, and enjoy that Saints victory.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Saints podcast presented by Rouse's Markets. Join us 3 times per week on NewOrleansSaints.com, the Saints mobile app, or you can download the podcast on iTunes. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by Rouse's Markets.